The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. Bringing you the real story. Why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
Oklahoma's domination of the Michigan Wolverines sets the stage for a big 2025 college football season.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners.
Let's start with the offense because that was the story of the game. In particular, John Mateer. Jay, what did you make of John Mateer's performance in this big-time blue blood showdown?
John Mateer cooked. He gave you, like, as you can hear, I have no voice. I've been drinking my tea and trying to get everything back. I've been fighting through it from Saturday and Sunday. You know, was able to do a little bit of recording, but John, it was electric. Watching Mateer go out there and cook. It's funny because there was so many fans telling me that he's not going to be able to do this at this level, that there's no way that he can do. He did this only against G5s, and at this level, the P4 level is going to be different, as if he didn't play Texas Tech or Washington and win both of those games for the most part with his legs. And I've had people keep telling me that he's not going to be able to do this long-term in the SEC, in which we just saw a Heisman Trophy winner do that in the SEC for LSU like 2 years ago. This is not something that's uncommon. This is a very common thing that we're seeing that John Mateer is doing. Do you want him to do it the way he does it? You probably don't want him trying to truck everybody. But for the most part, I can expect John Mateer to be just fine doing exactly what he's doing because this is his game. His game is built on his ability to move. And when it comes to the way Ben Arbuckle calls the plays, it's all about, you know, what makes John the most comfortable. And he goes out there and he just plays ball. He's playing football, man. That's what he says. It's football. So he's going to go out there. He's going to ball out. So, John, I was very excited to see him perform the way he did. There's a lot of things you can break down on it, but just overall, this was the coming out party for John Mateer.
Yeah, I talked about it on the live show that if you were still waiting to see if John Mateer was going to be able to produce against a higher level of competition, the waiting is over. He performed 344 total yards, 3 total touchdowns. The dude is now on pace through 2 games for 42 total touchdowns this season.
Oh, Jesus. John, I didn't think he'd be able to do 44. Remember, everybody said that that's not going to be possible. I mean, think about it this way. Right? Like, yeah, exactly. Someone is. I'm just saying. You got to think about it in this way, which is funny. I forgot that you did say that, but you got to think about it this way. Like, there is so many ways that he's going to be able to get those touchdowns. Perfect example. Michigan's defensive front's really good, and I love Todd McShay put this all 22 tape up, and it's probably one of the better videos to see of the John Mateer experience. You're on the 4-yard line, your own, back against the wall, in the end zone. You start the game off by doing what? You drop back 1, 2, 3, and you just launch a beautiful fade to Deion Burks. And it was what made the play so beautiful, John, is it was in the perfect spot. Granted, a lot of us, I'm guilty as well, would have been like, man, John, if you would have just done a little bit more in, he could have probably caught it, got in stride and been gone. Nah. The safety where they were located, that fade was perfect. And it's just an insanely incredible throw. We're going to see a lot more of that going forward. The dude's going to read how the defense is set. He's going to throw the ball where the ball belongs. Aaron Murray, I know you've seen it. I think his Snaps is the YouTube channel he's on, and they break down the plays. He broke down John Mateer's interception. Did you see that?
No, I haven't caught that yet.
Okay, well, let me explain you all in the Cliff's Notes, and you got to go back and watch it, fans. It's fantastic breakdown. Basically, he pointed out that where Huggins was on his route, because it looked like we were running verts. We all know verts. We all run all verts because, you know, we're all college football junkies. You know, we get in the video game. We're going to run verts and just throw it down the field all the time. So that's what he said. It looked like that was the play call because of where the safety was located. Huggins kind of curved it. He made it into a little bit of a deeper drag. Mm-hmm. I guess he was thinking that made sense at that moment. But where Mateer threw it was like he was running a vert, which is where he was supposed to continue to run. This is the second example of, even Gabe Eichert said it before that, the interception is Illinois State. Mateer throws the ball where the receiver is supposed to be, not where the receiver is actually at, which is if you follow the diagram of what the play call is, you're probably going to get some good catches out of it. He's done a really good job with that.
Yeah, he's throwing the ball really, really well. You have to be pleased with what he's done through 2 games this season. Even if there have been some throws that you're like, I bet you want that one back. Overall, his body of work so far is really, really strong. He completed 62% of his passes against Michigan. Again, had 270 passing yards, threw for a touchdown, ran for 2 more, and had 74 rushing yards on 19 carries. Other big takeaways from the offense, Jay, what else stood out to you?
You know who leads the SEC in passing yards right now?
Must be John Mateer.
It's John Mateer. I was told that this wasn't going to happen, folks, but we'll see how it goes against Auburn, in which Auburn gave up 417 yards to Sawyer Robertson. I don't expect John Mateer to do that either, right? Is that going to be really tough for him to do that against that lethal? I digress. No, other things that jumped out to me, though, John, is we've got things to fix. I think we can break down that in another episode where we kind of dissect and nitpick at some things, because there's some things that need to be worked on. But the wide receiver room feels like it's starting to shape out. I was hoping that we get some more of the younger players, but I'm okay with the veterans today. I think there's a plan for the young players to be able to contribute more, but Satania, Burks, Keontez Lewis, that's your 3-headed monster. And I think that's going to be a 3-headed monster for a majority of the season, barring injury. They're going to be those dudes. They were all finding ways to get open. Oh, yeah. Jaron Kanik, why did we waste him for 3 years at linebacker? No shade. Crazy. But I'm just saying, the dude's a ridiculous athlete, and he's doing really good at tight end. He's blocking like crazy. Crackback, bow. He's making one-handed catches, John. What? Did you expect any of this? I didn't.
Yeah, no, I fully admitted on the live show that this caught me by surprise. I thought, okay, they must really like what he did during the summer, during fall camp, and believed, hey, listen, we're going to give him a shot. We're going to see what happens. No, this dude isn't just getting a shot to be the lead tight end. He came out of fall camp the lead tight end, and he's produced. He's been really, really good. And it's not just that, the deep one-handed catch and run that he had. It's I catch the ball at 5 yards, but because of my athleticism and my physicality, I can turn it into 10 yards. I don't know how many times we saw that, where it was I'm catching a short ball in the flat and then I'm turning it upfield and picking up more yards after the catch because I'm so athletic that linebackers are going to have a hard time keeping up with me. So Jaron Kanik has been beyond anybody's expectations, and he's on his way to putting together a really, really strong season. It's been really fun to see him do that at wide receiver. I think you're right, man. You got your 3-headed guy between Burks, Satania, and Lewis. I would have liked to see them target Lewis a little bit more in this game because he's a good possession receiver, but of course Michigan may have slowed some of that down. And then Isaiah Satania, get the concentration stuff right, where you're not dropping a pass, where you're not muffing a punt. And the potential is there to be a big time playmaker for Oklahoma. Didn't even really get into the offensive line. And we'll have to talk about that on Tuesday's show because there's a lot to break down with what the offensive line did. They earned the game ball from Coach Brent Venables in large part to an 8.5 minute drive in the fourth quarter, Jay.
Yeah. John, you know who leads the SEC in yards receiving by a tight end right now?
It'd have to be Jaron Kanik.
There you go. Who's number 2 in the country
Jaron
in all
Kanik.
of college football? Jaron Kanik. And if he would have caught that trick play, which was a fun play, man, it was just, I don't know who it was. If Jaron was the one that pulled up, or if
he should have kept running.
I think he slowed up. Or if it was Mateer, they put a little too much sauce on it. But man,
he needed to get downfield a little bit more on that throw. I think he was waiting to see how the play was going to develop, and that's just inexperience, I think.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
After the South Florida loss, is it time for the Florida Gators to move on from Billy Napier?
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators.
I said this on Saturday night after the loss to South Florida. I didn't want to have this conversation right now. I also said last year when I initially called for Billy's job that I didn't want to have the conversation then. And today we're not even talking about whether or not Billy should be fired, but just what it would mean, why that would happen, right? And I will say this. It was an awful loss, right? It was the worst loss since Georgia Southern in 2013. Maybe even worse than that when you consider that you were mostly healthy in this game outside of, Caleb Banks. Pretty much everybody else was available. At least that's starter quality. But South Florida so far, and I don't care about this. South Florida looks like a good team. That's fine. But Florida looked just god awful on Saturday. And I've spent all off season talking about, when we talk about the expectations of this team, when we go back through the shows all off season, I was saying, look, this is a college football playoff caliber roster. And we'll talk about that in a second. This is a college football playoff caliber roster. It's time for coaching to catch up to the talent. And look, maybe I'm wrong about them being a college football playoff caliber roster, right? I know the team composite has them 12th roster, and I've always said that, for me, when I say college football playoff caliber roster, I mean that you're a top 12 team in the nation, top 12 roster in the nation. I don't like the composite rankings, but the composite rankings agree with that one at least. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the composite rankings are wrong. I still believe that this is a talented roster. But, like I've been saying all offseason, coaching has to catch up to the talent. And I wanted to believe, tried to believe. I think a lot of us did. Gave them a chance. We bought in. I think a lot of people bought back in. And then it's year 4 and things haven't changed, right? It's year 4 at the University of Florida. And you're still doing, honestly, the same things that you did in year 1. You're just doing it with your talent, your roster. That's it. I think you've passed the point of it being excusable. I do think that, and again, I'm not even saying that I'm going to do the whole outright thing like last year of just fire him. Just because, again, realistically, that's not happening in week 2. It's just not, that's not going to be a thing that happens in week 2. I'm not going to start pushing for it in week 2. I think that's kind of silly. If you were already out, this just confirms that you were out. If you bought back in, maybe this game gets you out, but I don't know. I find it really hard to go after one game that you're out. Even last year, I think a lot of people did after the Miami game, the 41-17. But even then, for me, it took Texas A&M game, and I was like, okay, you're just not going to get these guys right, and it's on you. And we've seen that time and time again, right? That's been one of my biggest issues with Billy Napier. That's been one of the reasons that I've consistently said Billy Napier needs to get an offensive play caller, is because you cannot do the whole head coaching job at this point and be an offensive play caller and be successful. It's just not, there's just too much going on. And Billy Napier, since he got to Gainesville, has been incapable of getting his team to show up week in, week out, and perform to the level that they're capable of performing at week in and week out. That's been the biggest thing for me. It's not even me saying he's an awful play caller. It's not me saying he's awful at being a CEO type. It's me saying that you can't do them all. And he's trying to do them all, and he's failing at doing them all. And I don't blame anybody that says that they want him fired. I said last year, you win out, you finish with a top 10 recruiting class, and I'll stop calling for your job. It doesn't mean that I think you're still the guy, but it means that I'll stop calling for your job. He won out. Also, by the way, all the people that were in the comments, Billy won out. They got the top 10 recruiting class. You owe him an apology. Where you at? Just curious. Just curious about that one. But this is the same thing as last year. Like, it's the year where you find out if he's the guy. And last year, my justification for wanting him fired was, I think at the University of Florida, you can win a championship. There's a ton of talent in the state. I think you can win a championship, or a ton of talent in the state and the surrounding states. So you can win a championship. But once you find out that a guy isn't the coach that's going to win you a championship, I think it's very valid to say, all right, we're going to cut bait here. Like, if you've proven you're not the guy, then you're not the guy. We're going to move on. And so I think that the logic behind just the conversation of firing Billy Napier, obviously a lot goes into it. There's a lot of levels to it. But when it comes down to it, this is the University of Florida. Billy Napier said it was going to take a few years. Like, we'll give him credit, right? He said it was going to take a few years. But here's the thing. It's been a few years. And you're not there. Here's the thing. While recruiting, they'll take 3-star offensive linemen. They'll take 3-star whatever position. And you can look into the process of it and go back to the countless shows we've done where we talk about recruiting and what this roster looks like and what this roster is going to look like long term. And we always revisit that Florida has a specific approach to how they recruit, right? They're recruiting guys that have the physicals that you can't teach, some of the intangibles, like the aggressiveness on the offensive line, and then they're banking on developing them. And now that you're in year 4, this is it. Like when we spoke about this, I think the first time we really had that conversation was in 2023, his second year, was that you're going to recruit all these guys that need a lot of work, have the tools, but need a lot of work. But you need to be here long enough to develop them. And if you're here long enough to develop them, then they need to be actually developed and ready to go. And we're now in year 4, and you've been here long enough to develop them. All right, you've got not many kids from your 2022 class left. Got a good bit of your 2023 class, a good bit of 2024. But they're not developed. They're here. DJ Lagway played maybe the worst game of his college football career on Saturday against USF. Your 2 best offensive linemen are guys that were Mullen recruits, Hevesy recruits. Like, at a certain point, you got to just say, hey, he just might not be the guy. And that's the logic behind letting him go. And then you talk about the resume and the record and, I mean, the few off-field things, like the Jaden Rashada recruitment was just an absolute mess that we don't really know what Billy Napier's exact role in that was. We don't really know what anybody's exact role in that was. But the fact that there's just this constant, smudge, not a great look.
The NFL season is finally here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
A tale of two halves has the ultimate final score, a domination on the Illini part.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
If you bet Duke, like a lot of people bet Duke at +2.5, you're going to be a little broker after this game, because this was a final score 45-19, which quite honestly didn't feel like it was going to be 45-19. You know what? Before I get started, I'm going to bring on a football brain much smarter than mine to hopefully explain this. And there he is, Kurt from the Eyes of the Big podcast. Kurt, what did we just watch?
Boy, that was craziness. I'll start with, I predicted a loss in this game. I thought about it yesterday. I still stuck with a loss because I hadn't really learned much about Illinois in the first week. And boy, I thought I was spot on. You know, midway through that first half, we were getting dominated, still winning, but I was like, this it's not going to continue. And then, you know, it even took a little bit into the second half and it just flipped. I thought the way that our offensive line was getting absolutely worked in that first half and into the second half, I just figured at some point the tide was going to turn and they were going to take over, and it just never happened. I'm not sure the last time I saw us getting so dominated and then flipping it. You got to give a lot of that to Bielema and the coaching staff. Normally, we don't come back from those types of games. We don't right the ship at halftime. So it's almost like I'm watching a different team right now.
It's one of those where, again, you watch that first half and somehow Illinois was up 14-13. But anybody who was watching that game knows that score should have been like 20-3 Duke. We had a bunch of bounces just go our way. And I talked about it in our Illini Discord. We had a lot of bounces go our way last year. And are we going to just continue that luck going into this year? And at halftime, that's what it looked like. That if we were going to escape this game with a win, that it would be one of those games where you and I would come on this post game and be like, let's just be glad this game is over. But, you know, at halftime, which by the way, we'll go over the first half in a minute or so. But at halftime, you know, you can see Brett Bielema was irate. He was not satisfied. And you know that halftime pep talk that he gave that football team, whatever it is, it worked. It started off slow. As you said, that first drive, we were 3 and out. Then we got lucky by just a completely boneheaded equipment failure play on Duke's behalf, which kind of negated the play that happened right before halftime, where Daniel Brown got that completely unnecessary roughing the passer call. But, you know, Illinois scores on that subsequent drive. And really after that, they never looked back. I think after the second half, they outscored Duke 31-6, something along those lines. You know, for all the questions I had in that first half, in that second half, Illinois looked like the deeper, more talented team that, you know, the more positive spinners were telling me that this team was.
Yeah, depth is one of the things that impressed me. I feel like the game overall was a little bit of a microcosm of last season. We were winning, just like we were winning games in the first half of last season, but we kept trying to establish a run, couldn't establish a run. I got to the point I said, just pass to set up the run. We started doing that in this game, and it flipped.
It was just to read off the stat that Robert Rosenthal basically had posted at halftime. I'm trying to find it real quick. Okay, this is the halftime box score of this game. Yards, Duke 240, Illinois 132. Sacks, Duke 4, Illinois 1. Tackles for loss, Duke 8, Illinois 1. Yards per play, Duke 6.5, Illinois 3.9. And yet the halftime score was Illinois up 14-13. And it's just one of those, for me, Kurt, I talked about this on the Voice of College Football late last night, that, you know, I know Illinois is a different program than what it was for the past, let's just say 20, 25 years or so that I've been watching. I certainly do have more confidence with Brett Bielema in charge. But coming into last night, you know, I remember you saying that you thought we were going to lose this game. And for some reason, my everydayers in this chat, which, by the way, if you are one, make sure you hit that like button on this particular video. Keep those vibes up. They know I've been kind of backtracking. I predicted 27-17 on Monday, but seeing this line at 2.5 and just seeing some of the people whose opinions I genuinely trust a lot all side with Duke, I felt like the pessimistic Illini fan in me started coming back. And I told my Discord this morning, I'm like, you guys, please, if I'm wrong on this, I want to, collective I told you so, which they absolutely gave me at the end of the game. But it's just seeing this dominant performance, and obviously it's the second half, but it's one of those where now I feel like I can genuinely breathe easier about where Illinois is at, like as a football program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess the way I look at it, think of a team that's really good. Let's say a Wisconsin, for instance, playing like absolute garbage. You're watching the game, you're hoping they lose, and somehow they just pull it out, even if everything seems to be going wrong. It's just what good teams do. I mean, you can really take any football game where there's a dominant team that's getting played close by a team that's pretty average. Almost always the dominant team still wins in the end, right? So it's just a great sign. There's a lot of good coaching signs to take from this game, I believe.
What would you say? I mean, are you focused more on the first half or that second half?
Well, you can't ignore the first half. I mean, the way the offensive line played, I don't know if you remember on your podcast, I issued a challenge to the offensive line. I said, look, if you guys are really this good, let's see you dominate from week one, play one, and not take any, no bad games, just out of the gate, play good throughout the season. I didn't expect they'd ever be dominant. I just wanted them to be good. And I don't know what I witnessed there. There's really no excuse for that. I mean, you can't use the excuse of, well, we need to build chemistry. They have chemistry. We need to work on our communication. We need reps. No, you've got all that. Manny runs a different kind of defense, really aggressive, really disruptive. And I think maybe that the scheme was winning out, but then it seemed once you got in the second half, we wore them down.
Exactly. I was also thinking about your previous appearance on the show where you and I kind of disagreed on the talent level with the running back room, and seeing our completely non-existent running game for essentially the first half, kind of creeping into that even the third quarter, was mainly Luke Altmaier making completely legitimate throws, which I'm going to get to in the second segment. I feel like I really want to put a big focus and spotlight on Luke's game today, but ultimately Caden Fagan ends up with 17 carries for 48 yards for a 2.8 average. He did score a touchdown. Khalil Valentine, 6 for 44. He had that 23-yard touchdown at the end. And Hank Beatty, which arguably, I feel like that's going to go in the end of season highlight package video. Hopefully after a successful season. But Aiden Laufrey, 6 carries and 5 yards. And quite honestly, I only remember 2 of those carries. I don't know if he got hurt in that second half, or I just don't remember seeing him. But overall, again, my concerns were, I know Illinois certainly looked bigger in that first half, but Duke's team just looked a lot faster. They looked more athletic, and they were really causing this offensive line problems, as you were saying. And the fact that we were up 1 at that point, we were, again, getting all the breaks, but just to see them kind of settle down. And Barry Lunny Jr. and Luke Altmaier, I think, really made some adjustments in that second half.